Some of these champions will never be 7 stars. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekend, where there's not much going on at the moment. So we're trying to fill the gap with some interesting coverage and dialogue on some things in the game. This right here is an image of no, it's not 7, it's 6 stars. This right here is an image of various 6 stars and 5 stars. And this is from the link in the description. I think this is from Reddit and by somebody, which is 1IMOHU. It's a name. Link in the description. But these are the current champions that have not made it to 7 stars. However, that is not the case because this has been updated by myself by simply pressing a button to remove things. Look, watch as we press the button and champions are removed from this selection. Boom. Yes, there we go. That is the updated version right there on screen. And right now I've gone totally full screen on your ass, as you Americans say. So yes, totally full screened on your ass right there. So you can see all the various champions that are still yet to be added in as 7 stars. Hopefully I've got this right and there's not one that has escaped my clutches. Before we have a look at each individual class and some of the champions that are likely and unlikely to get a 7-star shout, there are some candidates that are basically impossible or go in a very different direction. Quake is the first impossibility of a champion. This has been tried for years. It hasn't even reached as a 6-star, so it's doubtful that it'll even become a 7-star down the line. Like 10, 20 more years if the game survives that long. Magik is slightly different because a 6-star and 7-star version is in development, but the champion will be reworked and changed slightly, and also incorporating the Radiance currency of a very high amount. And Kabam have made it always very clear that 7-star Herlcues is not possible. The 6-star Herlcues, of course, has caused many issues over the years, even though it's not always the go-to option. It has a resurgence now and again. I mean, let's face it, last week we were talking about this champion being the cheat code for the side quests. So yeah, he has his usages and he does come around, but I don't think Kabam are gonna lighten the opportunity to have this as a 7-star version down the line. And just finally, Ultron as a 7-star, the kind of classic-y version. This is still something that is now you can get as part of the leveling up system. So yeah, it's doors open for this one, which is kind of weird. And just final before we get into like class-specific type observations on champions that are likely or unlikely to become 7 stars. I just want to point out my fear around 7 stars, rare 7 stars coming into the game. There's 2 channels of them entering in at the moment. Here's a good example. You know Dr. Doom, right? This geezer right here. He's a 6-star currently. And let's face it, I think a lot of people would like to see a 7-star version. And I don't know if we'd overly say it's like completely game breaking. And with the villain saga coming up, there could be a high chance that that champion, as well as a few other villains, which we're going to be mentioning in this video, could be these chase champions. My fear from this is about the 2 ways of acquiring. Number 1, the method of acquiring, which is free and kind of like decent for free-to-play players, is the Titan Crystal route when Kabam put a potential, like a champion as a 7-star, that's from a 6-star in. Gallon was the most recent one as a good example for that one. But the other method and the other way is the deals route. The deals route could see anything in like the 39,000 unit mark, which of course is a very scary thing and something that I personally don't like with that kind of direction that Kabam are going with these particular champions. It just feels really scuffy, unfair, annoying, and of course it's yeah, just feels kind of like stinky and unfair, to be brutally honest. And definitely if you look at Dr. Doom, Kingpin, Magneto, and even Cosmic Ghost Rider, these high damage villains and of course some of the heroes that we just mentioned a moment ago are some of these chase champions, decent 6 stars, but if they're put at 7 stars they'll be doing a lot of damage, and as well players would really want to see them. But the concern is with champions that you really want to see, Kabam could put that almighty price tag on them, which of course is the scary element to wanting something. If you want something, it seems you've got to pay for it nowadays. So more of this acquisition based method, please, Kabam. Now, if we go back to science, you can see there's a real difference of champions from the not so good to the relatively good, and some questions around why haven't we seen 7-star versions of this. I'm still surprised that we haven't seen a 7-star version of Scorpion. I kind of get some of the other ones not seeing them as 7 stars because maybe they don't cut it in terms of damage potential. Miles Morales, yeah, okay. Yellow Jacket, yeah, okay. Look, recently we saw a Red Hulk as a 7-star. We've never seen a Gladiator Hulk as a 7-star. But maybe that's something that Kabam need to consider before putting some of the champions in, and some of the ones that we're just kind of scrolling past right now. Electro as a 7-star could be a very powerful defender, and maybe Kabam have held off on that because they know what that would kind of likely mean if you are facing off against that particular champion. But there's definitely some questionable ones. I think a lot of us are very much at one stage looking forward to an OG Captain America buff, just to see that be not only a good enough 6-star, but a relatively good 7-star. It seems completely bizarre. Cap is not leading the front charge. Oh, that's right. Captain America Infinity War is still one of those champions that's been put front and center. Although people may say that the champion itself doesn't really hold its kind of like weight with kind of being that lead champion. So yeah. Oh, Anti-Venom is a mistake, by the way. Anti-Venom is a 7-star, which, yes, people might have like seen, and I've just seen as well. Damn it, I was doing so well. Anyway, we all know that there's been some really decent skill champions that have been put 7-stars. Debatable on Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, but definitely Nick Fury. Nick Fury as a 7-star is a great addition. There's a lot of skill-based champions, and it's the second in our list of the volume of 6-stars to be transferred into 7-stars. But there are some things that champions I don't think Kabam are willing to put in as 7-stars. I think one of them is going to be Aegon. This is going to be the biggest standout champion I think Kabam are quite scared of making a 7-star. Ripping and tearing through most like Everest piece of content over the last 3 to 5 years is a scary concept for anybody doing game development. But it's weird because Aegon is such a front and center champion that has had so much popularity. It just feels weird not to see this guy as a 7-star. 200 signature aim would be incredible to take on lots of content. I would have loved to see it. It's just very exciting. But Kabam ain't going to do it. Let's be brutally honest here. But then Baron Zemo was a shock 7-star. So Kabam have got the capability. It's just very unusual how they're doing this way of slow release some champions of 7-stars, because you're like, well, some 6-star versions are pretty much fine and they don't do a huge amount of damage, so why haven't they become 7-star versions? Like Thor Ragnarok, who does some pretty good damage but isn't exactly incredible by any standards, and Valkyrie, who's a very sought after, or was a very sought after champion. These I find like odd in how they make any kind of sense. Like, I think a lot of us get why Black Widow, the OG version, why she's not a 7-star. And the same thing can be said for Daredevil Classic. And the answer is Kabam have to buff them. They have to buff a lot of the champions on this list. Some they don't have to, but others they really do. And in other cases, I think either Kabam are saving for spending deals, potential Titan crystal being put into, or, and which could be highly likely, Kabam is scared about putting some of these as 7-stars because of the damage that they could do to kind of content, but also the competitive sphere. Also, if they do too much damage and they don't balance them correctly, then they'll be, rebalancing them and pissing you off as a player base. Right here, also on the Mutant line, there are some interesting champions that have some really decent synergies, but we know what Cable can do with the Apocalypse synergy. We all know about the potential damage that Magneto can do, the red mags, that SP3 against any hashtag metal, and a lot of champions in general. I have missed him being in like current metas, especially with having a 6-star version at rank 5. You've got to have him at like Ascended as well in order to do be kind of like really good. Rogue is a missed opportunity and people should have voted her to get a buff. And then you got the Wolverines. I think standard Wolverine is going to be used for like events and that kind of like deals. And the things with like Psylocke, Old Man Logan probably needs another buff as well before becoming a 7-star. Because here's the biggest thing around this, and people may ask, well, what's the point of this video? The point is saying that if Kabam even put some of these champions in as 7-stars, that they have to make them buffed. They have to improve their stats. They have to update them. They have to make them they have to give them an overhaul, because when you pull them, you don't want to be complaining. The amount of people that were frustrated about pulling Red Hulk in Titan crystals, they were annoyed. Other than that, if it's a case people are pissed about getting champion that has just not been reworked, being put into a Titan Crystal, then you got to spend exponential amounts of units and money in order to get some of the better champions that are going to be good, but then upped from 6 to 7. Good case in fact, point to that would be Archangel. Another one, Cosmic Ghost Rider. You get the idea? Dipping into the tech line briefly, there are some things that really concern me. I don't think there's going to be any issues if Kabam were to put into the likes of Ghost in as a 7-star, because look, it's an easy transfer based champion. That would be fine. You've also got other champions that are relatively good, but would need a rework or a buff in some sort of capacity. Nebula, Yondu. Well, Yondu is going to get some slight improvements soon, or has done. Vulture is one of those champions. You've also got Vision, Age of Ultron. But I think one of the biggest opportunities that Kabam could have is Nimrod. Nimrod makes a lot of sense to be upped and put in as a 7-star. I don't know why he's standing over there. He's now standing in the center. What's he up to? Dipping into the cosmic line of things, well, look, Heimdall's a 7-star. Why? Drax is a 7-star. Why? Captain America Classic is a Captain Marvel Classic. Why? 7-star. Well, Black Bolt. Why? Those champions being upped would need buffs and reworks. Some damage kind of numbers tweaked around. Icarus, don't know why that hasn't become a 7-star sooner rather than later. I don't know. I don't get it. Hela, slight rework maybe, then put as a 7-star possibly. Similar thing with Proxima Midnight. Ronan's an interesting one based on buff-based interactions. Spider-Man Symbiote, I think a nice rework for that champion, and it would be sorted. Tapping into some new different abilities that are not necessarily similar to the other Spider-Men in the game. But in terms of the likes of Hercules, you ain't going to get it. Not going to happen. Hulkling, however, I think that could be a 7-star. But the question is why Kabam haven't done that. And I think that's probably down to damage potential that could be done and how that maybe need to be balanced. Cosmic Ghost Rider, I am concerned about, because I think that if Kabam were to put it in, like, it would be one of these chase champions you're spending exponential amounts of units to get access to. But my hope is it would go into a 7-star Titan Crystal. And look, any champion that I'm not mentioning is that they need to be buffed. There's a lot of champions that do need to be buffed and reworked quite exponentially to actually be worth it. I don't want to get like a 7-star version of a champion and then go, oh great, well I can't do anything with it. Like Morningstar's a 7-star. Yeah, okay, that could be cool, but maybe that needs a rework or kind of an easy ramp. And that's something that I think a lot of champions are having, is that this easy ramp based element. Like Purgatory has been ramped in a different way that you can get easily to a higher ramp of what would be high effort. The same thing with Morningstar, like how you get to some of a decent persistency with the souls. Like if you can do that quicker without the use of synergies, then that would be better as well to what you can get to at the end of it. Or they kind of like incorporate stuff a bit better with the abilities. So I guess my ending kind of question to you in the comments, like who do you think is going to be next as a 6-star to 7-star upgrade? As we said, and as we showcased, the difference has been interesting over the length of time. Going from the likes of this to this in what seemed, I think this has been in the last 12 months, maybe a little bit more than that, is not too bad. This hopefully will be the start of more, but also a lot of the champions within it, I'm sure a lot of people don't actually want to get right off the bat because they need to be buffed. Toad, as part of the mutant side of things, if that was to become a 7-star, then of course a buff would be needed. Some people have said that they didn't particularly like the Rhino buff, but if that was in as a 7-star, would that make it better on damage output? Tricky defenders like Electro as a 7-star could be frustrating. Long time waiting, and also defensive wise, Airwalker and Annihilus as 7-stars would be kind of annoying as well, but kind of cool. Amazing attackers like Cosmic Ghost Rider definitely would be needed. Even Absorbing Man, and that could work on defense as well. Defensive and offensive with Dormammu would need to be buffed as well. And of course, we can't forget Doctor Doom, Kingpin, Aegon, and so many others. that if they were just put at 7 stars, I'm sure you'd see them a lot more. But are Kabam suppressing these as well? Are they waiting for the spending deals or the unit deals? What do you think? Put it in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video and a little bit of overview on 6 stars not making it to 7 stars, and I guess the future of the starage system with powerful champions. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're doing something nice, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.